you, Ms. Macarella. Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited to be joining you tonight. First, I just want to thank everybody for taking a night of their summer to spend it with us. I know there's a lot of things that you can be doing right now and be outside and for you to come in and show your interest in CBA athletics. I'm really excited to be able to share with you and hopefully answer a lot of the questions that you might have about our incredible sports team. And I also want to thank you just for your interest in CBA. There are a lot of great schools in our area, as we know, and if you're on this call tonight, then I know how interested you are in this place that's very special to us. And I want to thank Mrs. Macarella for putting these Zoom sessions on. We're kind of all zoomed out at this point, I'm sure, right? We've spent a lot of time over the last few months on Zoom, but I do think it's such an incredible platform for what we're going to share with you tonight and just give you more information about this place that we love so much. So thanks for joining us. I have a slideshow that I'd like to go through just to give you a visual experience. It's going to be a little bit of me talking for probably 20 minutes or so, and then would hopefully answer a lot of those questions, but then really would love to hear from you. And if you have any specific questions about our athletic program, I'd be happy to answer them. Just to give you a little background on who I am, I'm a graduate of Christian Brothers. I came here and graduated in 1999. I was an athlete here. I was a swimmer and a baseball player. I went on and played baseball after my career here at CBA, and then came back to the academy 12 years ago to coach the swimming team. I taught psychology for a long time, and I actually was in Mrs. Macarella's position for a couple of years. And now have been the athletic director for 6 years. So I know the school in and out, and I'm happy to answer any questions about our great athletic program. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. All right, so I hope everybody can see our presentation. Jen, you can see it okay, right? Give me a thumbs up. Thanks.
Yep, you're good.
So, first I just want to acknowledge one of our seniors here, Luke Pasquarella. Luke, incredible soccer player, Christian Brothers. And I love this photo because I think it encompasses a lot of what we have come to know about our CBA athletes. They're driven, they're determined, they're focused. And you can see that in this photo. And Luke had a great career, Christian Brothers. Played in 3 state finals, won 2 of them, and is going on to college now and is going to play at the next level. And so he's one of the many success stories here at CBA. And I also want to draw your attention to what's written here, because I think that's the most important thing that you can get from tonight, besides all the valuable information about the sports, is just the feeling about how we run our athletic program. And we firmly believe that talent's only going to take you so far. We've come across a lot of talented athletes, but I think what separates CBA, not specifically just in athletics, but as a school, is that those talents are going to be challenged here. And you're going to be put to the test, and you are going to get the absolute most out of whatever God has gifted you with. And so champions aren't born, they're made. And I think that really sums it up, that you're going to come here and we are going to challenge you to be the best version of yourself. And that is definitely no exception with the athletic program. Just to start us off with our mission, it's really simple. Through athletics, which is an extension of everything that we do in the classroom. This is education-based athletics, which I'll go into more in detail as we go on. But through sports here, we look to build boys into men of integrity, who are going to become leaders, who are going to serve others, and who are going to positively impact the world. And that's the mission of CBA. That's the mission of our athletic program, is that we're using sports as the vehicle. Now, I know if you're on this call, you were like me, and you're a boy who has dreams of putting on that CBA uniform, whatever the sport may be. Maybe you have aspirations of going on to play in college. And maybe you'll be fortunate enough, which I was, to play professionally. That's all well and good. But at the end of the day, that is not what sports is about. And at CBA, our coaches, our administration, and our students, the ones that you're going to meet, they're going to challenge you to use sports for what its purpose truly is, which is to put you in adverse situations where there's no dress rehearsal and see what kind of man you are, right? What kind of person are you going to be when things aren't going your way? And then how are you going to then use that when the uniform is off? Because it comes off of all of us eventually. One day there will be not a day in your life where maybe sports isn't there, but your playing days may be over. And what's really going to be important is the type of father and husband and community leader you are. How are you serving your community? And that's what we hope to get out of our sports programs, and our coaches do a really great job of that. And so that, to me, is the difference here. There are great teams in the state of New Jersey. There are great athletic programs in the state of New Jersey, but there are no better coaches. Our coaches are the difference. And so if somebody were to come to me and ask, why would I pick CBA over another school? I would say it's because our people here, the teachers, and the coaches are just teaching sports. They're teachers, they're educators. The teachers here are going to care about your sons, and they're going to get the absolute best out of them, and they're going to challenge them to be the best version of themselves. And that's what our coaches do. Their caliber is unmatched. They coach character first. They'll care for you beyond the sport that you play. And, oh yeah, they have a proven track record of winning, and we want to win as well. But that's a product of that character coaching. The winning doesn't come before that. And so I believe that this is such a difference. And here you see one of our more unique sports, which is rugby. As many of you know, if you're on this call, you probably have already realized that CBA doesn't offer football, and never has on the interscholastic level. And I know there's a lot of rumors as to why that is, but we do have rugby. Rugby is an incredible sport that's approaching a decade here at the school. And we're blessed to have Coach Pat Maroney, who you see. He's the guy who is, he's follically challenged. He's missing some hair there, but he is the guy right there who's leading that program. And Coach Maroney is one of the finest coaches we have here. Puts together a great staff, and they've built a successful program, rugby program, and they'll compete in the fall and the spring. And we'll go into a little bit more detail on all of our programs. Why are the coaches so great, and why are our programs so great? When I think of what it takes to be a great athlete, I think of three words. I know the Scheibels know about this, and they're on the call because they've heard me say it before. Maybe others have as well. There are only three things that our athletes can control, and these are the three things that our coaches harp day in and day out. These three words are non-negotiable at Christian Brothers. You have to bring 100% effort. Your mind has to 100% be into what you're doing. And you have to bring a positive attitude every day. They're going to demand that of you. And I think that's why our boys shine, especially when the lights are brightest. I think it's because our coaches demand a lot of them, and they're going to be challenged. And so a CBA athletic team, if you so wish to be on it, is going to challenge you. But if you're on this call, like me, although that might make you a little nervous, which it made me a little nervous, those nerves are also excitement, right? You want to be challenged. You want to see how far you can go. That's what makes a CBA young man, and that's what our coaches are going to demand of you. So here's a little bit of an overview. I know it's a lot of words, but I'll go through it slowly. This is just a snapshot of our athletic program. First, if you are on social media or are looking for more information, you see all of our links there. We're on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. We were one of the first to get on, the first high schools to really have a presence online in the ways that we do. And we do a beautiful job with imagery and graphics to bring you our sports wherever you're at. So if you're on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, please follow us. If you want to go check out our website, we have our own branded athletic website, letsgocolts.com. And then if you do have a smartphone, which I think 99% of us probably do, you can download our app for free. It's the Colts Center app in either the Google Play or App Store, Apple iOS App Store. And that app is a place where you can watch live events, you can catch up with all of our news, and you can see our rosters, latest scores, etc. So we really have come into the digital age, and we got some very, very cool features. Starting here on our left, I just wanted to draw your attention to all of our seasons and how it works in high school. So we have 3 seasons in high school, which I'm sure if you play in middle school, you also are going to be familiar with this. So we have our fall season, winter, and spring. The fall season starts typically in mid-August. We'll run till about the first week in November. The winter season starts around Thanksgiving. We'll run until about the end of February for the most part. And then the spring season starts the first week of March and will run until about the end of May. You'll see the sports here. In the fall, we offer 5 sports, and then winter and spring, as you'll see there. There are some sports that that have multiple seasons, and I'll explain that here in a second. Crew, sailing, and rugby are the 3 sports that compete in 2 seasons, fall and spring. Okay, and so you can see there our 8 winter sports, our 7 winter sports. I apologize, and our 9 spring sports. And as you look over here to the athletics facts, I'll just kind of point a few things out. We have 18 varsity sports programs. We have 17 sub-varsity teams that are under those. So that means freshmen and JV. So for example, our baseball program has freshman team, a JV team, and then obviously the varsity team. Whereas our golf program, they only have a varsity team, and our swimming program only has a varsity team. So some teams only have 1, others have 3 levels. And so in total, we have 35 separate teams here at CBA under the 18 varsity programs. Over 70% of our athletes compete in sports here. And I think this really this is a testament to our mission. If you know about CBA, which you've been on these calls over the last few days, you know a CBA man is a well-rounded man. CBA man, going back to St. John Baptist de La Salle, it is a holistic education that focuses on the mind, the body, and the spirit. And so we take the body part very seriously, right? We take our physical health very seriously here at Christian Brothers. And so over 70% of our athletes compete at one of those levels. We also offer intramural programs. In the fall, we offer intramural flag football. In the winter, we have a dodgeball series. We have a basketball series. And then in the spring, we've done ultimate frisbee and other things. Those are all student-led. And so depending on the participation numbers, we can run a number of different activities. We're a member of the NJSIAA. That is the New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association. That is the governing body for the state of New Jersey. We're also a member of the Shore Conference. By being a member of those 2 bodies, that means that we have agreed we do not give any athletic scholarships. So this isn't like a traditional, like a prep school, like a Petty or anything like that. We don't give Lawrenceville Prep. We don't give athletic scholarships, and we're not allowed to do any recruiting. Most of our practices are going to occur after school, and they're going to be on campus. We're fortunate to have great facilities on campus, which house the vast majority of our athletes every day and our teams. There are a few teams that, because of the uniqueness of the sport, that have to participate off campus. Crew, hockey, swimming, sailing, to name a few. You can only play 1 sport per season. I know that's a question that comes up, so I wanted to make sure I addressed it. So, as a freshman coming in, if you wanted to try out for soccer in the fall and you made the team, then you're going to play soccer in the fall, but you can then go out for basketball in the winter, and then you can play baseball in the spring. So you can play 3 sports, but you can only play 1 sport per season, okay? And then last, most of our teams as I said at the beginning, are very competitive. And again, if you're on this call, you probably know the success of CBA athletics. So the majority of our teams, even down to the freshman level, are going to make cuts. They are going to make team selections. Those typically occur, every team's a little bit different, but you're typically going to get 3 to 5 days of tryouts, and then the team selection is going to be made. But there are some programs that do not cut freshmen. Off the top of my head, as I look at the list here, I know that, for example, freshman cross country does not make any cuts. So if you wanted to come out for the freshman cross country team, you have a spot on the team as long as you come to practice every day and work hard. In the winter, for example, I coach the swimming team. The swimming team I've never made a cut. And so if you come in and you can swim at any level, we've had very novice swimmers who can only swim a little bit of freestyle. We've had other swimmers, obviously, that know more of the strokes, but we'll work with you. And if that's a sport you're interested in, then there's a sport in the winter that doesn't have any cuts. So there are those sports that are out there. And once you get into the school, you're going to learn more about that as well. So we don't like to necessarily always tout our numbers. That's why I don't lead with this, but I do think it's important to show how successful the athletic program here is at CBA. And whether or not you're going to play sports here, you're going to benefit from it. It's a vibrant community. Our boys, even those who don't play, they come to our games. They're members of the Cult Crazies. They're in the stands. There's an excitement in the hallways. And I think that's just such an important part of our school, is that excitement in the hallways. And there's good reason for it. In the last 5 years, we've won 26 Shore Conference championships. We've been the best team in the Shore. In the last 5 years, we've been the best team in the state 29 times, 29 state championships. We just received notification last week that we won our 12th ShopRite Cup. ShopRite sponsors an award that names the best athletic program in the state. And for the 12th time in 14 years that they've given out the award, we've received it. So we are the best program in the state of New Jersey. The class of 22 competing at the next level, 44 members of the class of 2020, are competing at the next level, 34 of which committed early. And just recently, Max Preps, which is an organization that, a publication online that does high school rankings, they ranked us the 7th best athletic program in the country. So that was a huge distinction. And so again, this is a national program that you'll be entering into. One thing specifically I wanted to draw your attention to, and I know again there's a lot of words, so I'm not going to read through all of this, but a unique feature of our athletic program, and actually our entire school, because all students do get to benefit from this, is our strength and conditioning program. If you've been on campus, then you may have seen our fitness center. We have a state-of-the-art fitness center, and we have our own strength and conditioning coach. He's a nationally certified strength and conditioning coordinator, and he's been here 6 years, developed sports-specific as well as individual programs for the athletes. He's also a member of our physical education department. So strength and conditioning is a part of our physical education program here at CBA. So all students benefit from this program, not just our athletes. So I wanted to draw attention to that. In freshman year, it is a lot of teaching. It's a lot of body weight. It's all safe. And it has really transformed our athletic department. In the last 6 years, our programs and our athletes have gotten stronger. And as a consequence of that, have gotten better. And so as you see there, for freshmen, we do have phys ed classes. We have mornings before and after school where teams are training. And like you see here, it's appropriate training depending on the sport. And so our strength and conditioning coach works with each of our head coaches. If you want to follow them, our strength coach, Coach Bear, does a great job of being very active on social media. And so parents, you can go online, you can follow on Instagram and on Twitter and see some of the videos that have been posted. He posts almost daily, and he gives instructional videos as well as videos of our own young men who are in their training. And so if you want to see some of the workouts that we're doing, go ahead and take a look. And for more information on all of this, you can go to letsgocolts.com. Letsgocolts.com it's got everything, you know, from photos to information to the history of CBA athletics. All of our sports are represented there, news, specific information for student athletes and parents, Inside Athletics, which is a lot of our philosophy and mission. And then also you see the broadcast tab there. That's where you can actually watch live streams of our games. Definitely check out our philosophy and mission page, because that's where you'll learn a lot more about the education through athletics and exactly what CBA is all about. You'll see our 3 pillars there of commitment, excellence, and tradition. And it's just really important that, especially in today's world, you know, I know that you guys are all interested or into sports, you play on travel teams. This is not like your travel programs. And I hope that you have great travel coaches, and I trust that they're treating you all well. But here at CBA, athletics is treated very differently. And it's going to be education-based, and it's going to be LaSallian-based. And that's the anchor of our program. So, you know, there's obviously a huge situation going on in the world right now, and you can't ignore it, right? And so I wanted to make sure that you all had an idea of how COVID-19 is impacting high school sports right now, and just know what we're doing about it. Because I think it's important that you see how agile CBA can be in times of crises. We don't know what is ahead, but what we do know is that CBA is committed to the education of your sons. And so how will COVID-19 impact high school sports? So I happen to sit on a task force that is right now coming up with guidelines for the state of New Jersey that is going to bring us into 3 phases to get us back to this fall. Now, I do know that some of you are playing travel sports right now and are saying, well, we're already playing games. That is probably happening. However, as you know, schools are held to a little bit of a different standard, and the Department of Health is involved, et cetera. And so the high schools can never be ahead of where the high school sports can never be ahead of where the high schools are. And so we just got some guidelines from Governor Murphy that Mr. Fales is working on, getting us back safely into the classroom. And so now we can start working on how we get back safely onto the fields. And so phase 1 is going to focus mainly on conditioning, and that's going to start sometime over the summer and is going to continue into the early part of fall. And then as we get closer to the end of September, we'll probably be in phases 2 and 3, which will look more like sport-specific skills, you know, soccer and cross-country training, not just the conditioning of the sport. And so we're really hopeful that come late September, we'll be playing games against other schools. Again, it's a very fluid, rapidly changing situation. And so that can change. But right now, that's the plan. The plan is that we're going to do our best to bring high school sports back in the state of New Jersey for this fall. So because of that, as the athletic director, I'm getting our CBA coaches and staff ready. And so I'll be spending the next month working with the state on these guidelines, making sure our coaches are up to speed. And then the NFHS just came out with a COVID-19 online training seminar, which all of our coaches will be required to take. And so our coaches will be ready for when this comes, as ready as they can be, right? I mean, you have to be agile and things will come up, but we do understand, and I know Mr. Fales is committed to getting our young men back in the classroom and back on the fields, because that's important for their development. And so we're doing everything in our power to make sure that we can do that. This quote, patience, persistence, and participation, the 3 Ps, that came from the head of the NJSIAA, Colleen McGuire, and I think it's just perfect for this time because things are going to be different. We don't know what they're going to be, but with persistence, we can get through it. And with a focus on participation and taking pressure off of winning, I think that's the best scenario. And so this year, that focus is definitely going to be on participation, making sure that we're playing and we're safe. And that's how CBA and that's how the state of New Jersey is going to approach COVID-19. But we do want to get back on the field. And when we get back on the field, we're going to be very appreciative of getting back. And if you played sports, which you probably do, you know how devastating it was to lose your spring season, and how probably if you're back on the fields now and practicing, how appreciative you are to be back on the fields. And so that's what we want to focus on. And like I said, we're always adapting. And so we did have sports taken away from us this spring, but that didn't stop Christian Brothers. We developed an online series that was seminars for our student athletes and workshops for our coaches so that we can continue to engage them and develop them. Again, champions aren't born, they're made. We take pride in continuing to develop our students and our student athletes. So with that in mind, we made sure we put a robust program together, and it was a lot of fun. And it was a lot of Zoom calls. The young men were on calls 2 or 3 days a week. The coaches were on calls 2 or 3 days a week. There was opportunities with these team huddles that we had on Fridays where the teams could get together, and it worked out really well. We focused on things that you normally wouldn't focus on in a regular season: mental conditioning, motivation and goal setting, the things that sometimes fall to the wayside, but we all know are very important. We really got to give intentional attention to, and it was a lot of fun. Mindfulness for athletes. We had some really cool presenters. We had the head wrestling coach from Rutgers. We had the head soccer coach from the University of Louisville. We had an All-American baseball player, Gianluca Delatri, who's a graduate of CBA, come on and talk to our students and coaches. He just signed a professional contract with the St. Louis Cardinals. We had an All-American swimmer from Trinity Hall, Caroline Gamelik, who came on and talked about her transition into college. And so we collaborated a lot with Trinity Hall on these sessions. So it was a really fun effort. And you can see here the different things we were able to offer our student athletes. And I show you this not only to prove to you how committed we are to your boys, even in times of crisis, but also to show how we already have the framework for, God forbid something does happen this fall or winter and we can't have sports, we're having sports, we're doing something. We're gonna continue to develop our boys. And so we're gonna offer these programs. I know you're looking at high school, but we have to tout where our boys go to college as well, so that you can see what lies ahead of you if you so choose. We have been blessed to have our boys attend some of the greatest institutions in the country and do so for athletics. And so you'll see a list of the schools there where our boys are competing currently. These are CBA commitments from the last 3 years. And so this is where our boys are at right now playing sports. You'll see the quote there from Luca Delatri: CBA prepares you for the next level, period. It's a breeding ground for those who are interested in playing at the next level. It's not promised, for sure. The NCAA comes out with numbers every single year, and fewer than 6%, wrap your head around that number, fewer than 6% of high school athletes will ever compete in college. 6 out of 100. That's not even a scholarship, that's just compete. Fewer than 2% earn any type of athletic scholarship in college. And so I hope that you are that boy and right now in this Zoom saying, well, I'm that 6%, I'm that 2%. Yes, you need to believe that, but also understand that it is a challenge and that it is rare. Now at CBA, our percentages are higher, but they're still the minority. And so we do get over 15% of our young men who are seniors do go on and play at the next level, the athletes. And we have a lot of them that do earn athletic money, but they are the minority. They are not the majority of our student athletes. But here you'll see a lot of our success stories from this past year. Selfishly, I have 3 swimmers right here in the front row. Mason Wolf's going to Monmouth University. He's actually a baseball player. We have Liam Morris here in the middle. He's going to Loyola. And Ben Dupree. We also have a bunch of Ivy League runners. Going to Harvard here is Eris Botino. He is a track and field thrower. And so we had a really successful class this year. So these 10 student athletes signed early. They committed early. And then after that, we had another 34 members of the class of 2020 who are going to be playing at the next level. So how do you follow us? Here's how you do it. You're going to grab your phone. You're going to go to letsgocolts.com. You're going to go to Instagram and Twitter, and you're going to follow at CBA Colts. This is going to be your way to continue to connect with us at all times. You're going to download Colt Center. okay? And, I know we have not just, eighth graders, not eighth grader, we have sixth, seventh graders. So, this is a great way to continue to stay with us during the year. Many of our games are broadcasted. All of our home basketball games are on the Colts Digital Sports Network. So it's a lot of fun to follow CBA sports. And one day I hope that you are envisioning yourself playing on a big screen somewhere, representing the academy. So that's my spiel. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share. I know that was a lot of information, but what I would love to do at this time is just open it up to any questions, and I'm happy to answer anything that I probably missed, and I'm sure I missed a lot. Mr. Bales, you can help me out if you think I missed anything.
Great. Thank you, Coach. That was very thorough. Families, I invite you to go ahead and type any questions that you do have. We'll go ahead and use the chat feature that's in there in Zoom, and you can go to the chat that you should see on the bottom of your screen, and you can type a question in, and I will pose that out here to Coach. I'm going to throw one out there for you while we're waiting for some questions to come in through the chat. Would you talk a little bit about season to season, when sort of the general tryout period starts, and when a student would be eligible to start participating in a fall sport or winter sport, so on?
That's a great question. So the registration period is currently up for fall sports. So typically around the end of June, we will open up the registration portal. All the students that attend CBA have to have a physical, and then there's additional forms that you do have to complete for the state of New Jersey for you to play sports. A few additional forms that are signed by the parents. And that's all done online. And so we have an online portal where you register for athletics. Typically that portal is open for about 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the season. So over the summer, we give you a little bit more time. It closes August 1st. And typically the fall season will start around August 17th. You'll have about a week for tryouts. Every sport is slightly different. So for example, in the fall, cross country, rugby, and soccer start on August 17th. Crew and sailing, their tryouts don't start until you come back in September. And cross country is one of those sports, like I mentioned, they don't cut. So let's say you were interested in soccer and cross country, and you didn't know which one to pick. Well, you could always ask me, but I would tell you start with soccer because they do have to make cuts. If you didn't make the team, then you could always go to cross country. So you are able, if you don't make a team, you're able to try out for another team so long as that team has not completed their tryout process. If they make cuts, then you wouldn't be allowed to go for that team. And you just want to know which teams make cuts and which teams don't, so you know where to prioritize. Because freshman year, it's really about learning. You may not know what you're good at yet. You may not know what you want to try. And so we really encourage participation. We encourage you to try something. It doesn't have to be a sport, anything, any activity, but we encourage you to try something every season. If you think of it in terms of seasons, something in the fall, something in the winter, and something in the spring. So in the winter, the sports again are staggered. Nothing starts exactly on the same day. So you'll have hockey, swimming, and bowling. They start in early November, whereas basketball, wrestling, track and field, those typically start after Thanksgiving. And then in the spring, the first week of March is when spring tryouts start. And almost every sport in the spring tries out around the same date. All of those dates, by the way, for next year, so you can get an idea, and we typically go corresponding dates. So you can get an idea by going to letsgocolts.com, and you can see under tryouts, you can see all the dates when sports start. And then another question just that I'm thinking of that I get for those sports that maybe like crew, where they have 2 seasons, sometimes people will ask, freshmen specifically will ask, well, if I play crew in the fall, does that mean I can't try out for baseball in the spring? It's not true. You can do, especially freshman year, if you try out, if let's say you're on the crew team in the fall and you like it, but you really want to play baseball, you can try out for baseball in the spring, and that's fine. Typically around sophomore year, junior year, that's when you really have to start to narrow in, because the crew program does operate all year round. And so you might want to, they're probably going to need you in that boat in the spring too. And so you start to have to focus a little bit more, but that doesn't happen until sophomore or junior year.
All right, Great, thank you. In terms of with tryouts, and this is probably going to be a tough one to answer, but maybe some generalities. In general, what's percentage of boys will make a team they try out for?
It's a great question, and it depends on the sport. And so the three biggest sports that are the most difficult to make numbers-wise are going to be soccer, basketball, and baseball. So traditionally, you're going to have, maybe 50 freshmen try out for soccer, maybe 30, 35, 40 try out for basketball, and 50 try out for baseball. And you're only going to have about 20 spots for soccer. You're only going to have about 12 spots for basketball, and you're only going to have about 18 to 20 spots for baseball. And so more than half of the students that try out freshman year aren't going to make those three teams. So that's the reality of those three sports. In other sports, they're so specific, like a golf. Golf is, I would say, the toughest sport to play at CBA for two reasons. Number one, our golf team is maybe the best in the country, but also there's only a varsity level. And so it's very hard for a freshman to come in and maybe shoot 75 and make the golf team. But what I would say for a team like golf is it's not unheard of for you to try out freshman year and not make it, try out sophomore year and not make it, and then make it junior year, because you're getting older and better. And so if you're a golfer, even if you're a golfer, I should say, you still, although you might not make the team freshman year, you still have a future potentially in the sport. And so that's a really tough team to make. And then you got sports like track and cross country and swimming where, I've never cut a kid for the swim team, and we've won 10 state championships in 11, 12 years. So there's boys who have been on a swim team who never thought they would ever swim, and they have a championship ring. And so you really have a lot of variety. And, other sports like fencing and rugby, they're traditionally not making a lot of cuts. And so there's opportunity, but I would say if you're in soccer, basketball, or baseball, those traditional big popular sports, they are the most difficult to make.
Great, thank you. And you mentioned fencing, and we actually had a question about fencing in particular, just in terms of the training, how much knowledge of fencing do you need to bring to wanting to try out for fencing?
So you can be a novice and come out for the fencing team. If you were interested in fencing, it's a winter sport. So traditionally what you could do is you could contact our fencing coach, Miss Mary Matola, and you could ask her email is on our website, and you can ask her and say, Coach, I'm interested in fencing. What are some things I can do to prepare for tryouts? I've never fenced before. There are ways to get involved in the sport, but you do not need any prior experience. The same goes for crew. The same goes for rugby. You do not need prior experience to try out for those sports. Not many people have ever rowed crew before. Not many people in our area have ever played rugby before. And so you're going to be up against other freshmen who have never played the sport. And so there's not going to be much of a competitive advantage. And so those sports are very intriguing. Of course, you're going to have some fencing that have fenced before, and that's fine. But there is enough room to take numbers on that team, so there traditionally aren't big cut numbers. So if you're interested in sports like that, my suggestion would be to reach out to the coach directly. The information is on the web. Any sport you're interested in, please reach out to the coach directly and ask them many questions that you might have, and they'll get back to you.
Great, wonderful, thank you. Type in those questions into the chat as you have them, if you have them, and it's also okay to not have any other questions right now as well. This is by far not the only chance that you're ever going to get to talk with us. So we'll give it another minute just for any questions that might be out there. And I have one other that I'm going to pose to you. So you talked a little bit about, the LaSalle as the foundation for, not CBA as a whole, but athletics as well. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about sportsmanship and the skills and what our boys are learning when they're out on the field or when they're in a game, and how those are skills that they might take on with them beyond beyond CBA, beyond school?
Yeah, so like I started with, I think that education-based athletics and having your priorities straight is probably one of the most important messages that can be delivered by any athletic director or any coach in high school sports, because unfortunately, sports has taken on, a life of its own in today's culture, where it's become so much about winning and so much about getting a scholarship, and really it was never meant to be that way. It was really meant to teach you and help you build that character that you're going to need later on in whatever whatever adversity you might face in the real world, whether it be a job or a family or whatever comes your way, right? So I think our priorities are important. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but at CBA, a student athlete, it goes like this: faith, family, academics, athletics. And so our coaches will continue to preach that: faith, family, academics, and athletics, in that order. If you come to CBA with that in mind, you're going to have a very successful career here. Our coaches are coaching that character, and in those difficult times, we're held to a high standard. You're held to a high standard here at CBA, in the classroom, in the way that you carry yourself around campus and on the field. You have those three letters that are going to be, in so many ways, if you think about it, sports are an incredible window into the soul of a school, because your name, your school's name, in front of that shirt, you can't hide behind anything. And so your character and the way that you look is a reflection of that school because of the name on that shirt, on that jersey. And so we take that very seriously here. And so our boys are incredible sportsmen. They're gracious in defeat, and they're also very humble in victory. We make sure that we continue to teach that, and our coaches continue to teach that. We've done some really nice things here in athletics. We have a student athlete leadership academy where some of our seniors and our juniors take part in discussions and groups where we talk about these types of things and sportsmanship and how you deal with officials and how you deal with maybe communication with a coach that you don't agree with, how you can get through those scenarios. And so we try to arm you with tools that you're going to need well beyond, winning a soccer game.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, last question for you. Does tennis have tryouts? And along with that.
I see, yes. So tennis has tryouts. Tennis is a storied program here as well. We, over the last couple of years, to increase and encourage participation, we started a JV program. And so the JV program is going into, I believe it would have been its third year this spring. So it'll be going into its fourth year, I guess, next spring. And so that is a way for boys who may not be ready for that varsity level yet to still get repetition and also competition. We play an interscholastic JV schedule. And so we will play tennis against other schools at the JV level if they have a team. And JV tennis is all doubles. It's not any singles competition. It's all doubles competition. And there are tryouts. Those tryouts serve two purposes at the varsity level. The first purpose is obviously to select that varsity team, but the second purpose would be to select the order of that team. Who's going to be the number one? Who's going to be the number two? Who's going to be in first doubles? Who's going to be in second doubles? Because that all has to be actually that has to be done officially for the state.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much. Like I said, that was a really fantastic overview of all things athletics, but also the foundations and the roots of our athletic program, so intertwined. Everyone heard over the past couple of nights about CBA really standing for the education of the mind, body, and spirit. And I think that this very nicely really shows how that ties all together.
Yeah, and I would just say that this is an extension of the school. I know sports is in the papers a lot because we are successful, but you don't have to be a great athlete to benefit from the CBA education, and more importantly, you don't have to be a great athlete to benefit from CBA athletics and what it can teach you. And I think a lot a lot of young men come in with expectations of being a star basketball player. And other young men might be intimidated by maybe trying a sport that they've never done before. But I will tell you that some of the most successful stories, boys who have gone on to be All-Americans in college at sports they never dreamed of trying because they got cut from the basketball team. Boys who have, been on the JV wrestling team and have gone on to start corporations and very successful business entrepreneurs. They learn those things in the halls of CBA by trying things that maybe made them uncomfortable. I would encourage you to look at the athletic program in that way, and I think you're going to benefit greatly from it.
Great. We had
I
one
think I
other
have another question. Yeah.
one other right in there. So can you talk a little bit about how freshman tryouts work and if you can try out for a JV or varsity team?
That's a great question. Every program is slightly different. So yes, a freshman could be on the varsity team, could make the varsity team, or could get moved up to the JV team. There aren't necessarily always like a specific tryout. Typically what would happen is everybody would go to freshman tryouts, and then you would prove yourself that at that tryout, because our head coaches are usually involved even in the freshman tryout. And so they're going to see you and they're going to say, hey, that kid's very good. I'd like to move him up to JV, or I'd like to move him up to varsity. And so it does happen. It's a rare circumstance to have a freshman start right at varsity. Very rare. But yeah, I mean, a good example would be the swimming team. We don't have a freshman or a JV team. And so we have freshmen competing at the varsity level every single meet. There are freshmen that compete at the varsity level. The hard ones are like a basketball, again, a soccer, where you do need a little bit more physical development a lot of times and just more training and polishing in your skills. And so it would be more rare to have a freshman who made varsity basketball. It's happened, but it's rare. So you don't necessarily pick and choose and say, oh, I want to try out for the varsity team and not the JV team or not the freshman team. Usually you just go to freshman tryouts, and from there you can move up.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Coach. Mr. Fales, as we wrap up tonight, and this really wraps up our 3 nights of talking with the administration, and tomorrow night, everyone will get to hear from our current students and a student panel about their experiences. Any sort of closing thoughts just to tie it all together in general?
Thank you, Mrs. Macarella, and thank you all for being here for the 3rd night in a row. I do see some familiar names and faces and some symbols for the people that don't have their cameras on. So I really appreciate everyone taking time out of their summer nights to learn a little bit more about CBA. Thanks to our athletic director, Mr. Trevolati. Tomorrow night, you will have the opportunity to speak to some of the students, and that, in a way, is some of the best information and best reflection of the academy that you can get. The students, are really just a few years older than you, and they're in it right now. So they will be a great reflection and great source of information for the academy. As far as closing on athletics tonight, I mean, I really can't add anything to what Coach Trevolati said, in that the athletic program is an extension of the mission of the academy. And as I said on Monday night, it is really the totality of the experience here. It's all the things working together to create that holistic education to help our young men develop, into the best version of themselves, to develop in the mind, the body, and the spirit, according to that mission, and to really become the young men that God intends them to be. So athletics is a great example of how of what's happening outside of the classroom that contributes to that development, those interpersonal skills, those resilience in the face of adversity, and teamwork, and things like that. And these skills will help you as much as the skills that you learn in the classroom as you go out into the world. And really, that's a lot of what Trevolati already said. So again, thank you all for being here. And I hope to see you guys soon, maybe at the end of August or in October, and we'll be able to have a real open house, get you on campus. And we're hoping for that. As Coach Trevolati said, we're working hard on developing our plan to return everyone to the campus safely in September. So thank you again.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we will see you, I will see you back here tomorrow night, same time, same place, all of your living rooms. And we will have about five or six of our current students who are really excited and really ready to talk with you all and share their academy experiences. So for now, have a great rest of your Wednesday evening and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye now.
Best of luck.